and these fighters escaping. And that's what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen. They're escaping from Cuba. And I think that, when you go from an environment where they're telling you when to run, when they're telling you when to spar, they're telling you when to eat, and you know what, and then, you swim over and land in Miami on a coconut raft, and all of a sudden, you're deciding what time you want to eat and when you want to run and everything else. Half the battle is over for these guys. That desire may be missing. Now, with that said, I don't think that was Perez's problem on Saturday night. I think Perez might have underestimated Bryant Jennings. And I think that when Bryant Jennings was still there, hanging around, especially after 7, 8, 9 rounds, I think that started getting to Perez, number one. Number two, I also think that the training, lack of training for Perez, and I don't mean training, working weights, because he clearly looks like he lifts some weights, or sparring or anything like that. I'm talking about road work, keeping the fuel in the tank. And thirdly, I think the biggest problem was Adam Booth. Adam Booth sucks. Adam Booth should not be allowed to have a trainer's license or a seconds license. He shouldn't even be allowed to buy a ticket to a boxing event. Adam Booth is so bad for the sport of boxing, they shouldn't even allow him to purchase a ticket, even in the nosebleed seats. They shouldn't allow him in arenas to watch it. As a matter of fact, they should block his television set so he's not even allowed to watch boxing on TV. That's how bad Adam Booth is. I think that Mike Perez, he had to deal with the language barrier. Okay, you got Adam Booth trying to speak somewhat in Spanish to him. I know Perez speaks a little English, but he's got that. He's got the Gaelic drawl. And he's listening to Adam Booth telling him to make sure you make him be embarrassed or whatever he was saying. Like he's the Zen master. Listen. As a trainer, you want to be a Zen master? Great, be a Zen master. But don't take your Zen master and techniques out on the fight or during the fight. You use it during training. If you want to have him use his jab and embarrass his opponent, then tell him, use your jab. Leave the embarrassing part out. As a trainer, if you're a good trainer, that, fighter A does this to fighter B, then the result is going to be this. That's what good trainers do. Adam Booth is not a good trainer. He got a guy, a fraud. Let's face it, David Haye was a fraud. And Adam Booth is a fraud. So I think the majority of Mike Perez's problem on Saturday night was Adam Booth. And I stand by it. This man should not only be prevented from training boxers, he shouldn't even be allowed to buy a ticket to a boxing event. That's how bad this guy is, really. And I'm not even exaggerating. He's terrible. He's terrible. Show me one guy, aside from the fraud himself, David Haye, show me one guy this guy has actually helped. And who the hell would hire him? Anytime Andy Lee is recommending a trainer for a fighter, stay the hell away. Andy Lee is a breathing punching bag. That's all he is. That's all he is. And no, I'm not mad because I picked him and lost when he won last couple of weeks ago when on the undercard of the Cotto fight. But trust me when I tell you. Listen.